She whispered, "Can I have a dad?" And the human who heard changed her life forever. The salvage freighter. Meridian's Hope drifted through the debris field of what had once been the Kepler station. Captain Marcus Chen adjusted his helmet's filters. As he navigated through twisted metal and crystalline fragments that caught the distant star's light like scattered diamonds. 3 weeks ago, the station had been home to over 10,000 beings from a dozen different species. Now, it was a graveyard. The distress beacon had been weak, almost lost in the cosmic background radiation. Most salvage crews would have ignored it. Too much risk for what was likely just automated systems cycling through their death throes. But Marcus had learned long ago that hope was often found in the most unlikely places. His scanner picked up the signal's source, a heavily damaged section of what appeared to be the station's residential quarter. The hull breach had been sealed with emergency foam, but barely. Marcus maneuvered his small shuttle through the gap, switching to internal lighting as the darkness enveloped him. The corridor beyond was a mess of floating debris and emergency lighting that flickered like dying fireflies. Marcus followed the beacon's pulse, his magnetic boots clanking against the deck plating. The sound echoed strangely in the thin atmosphere, thin enough to sustain life, but barely. That's when he heard it. A whisper, so faint he almost dismissed it as the groaning of stressed metal. "Can I have a dad?" Marcus froze. The universal translator in his helmet processed the words, identifying them as spoken in Zephyrian, a language belonging to one of the galaxy's most peaceful species. He'd traded with them before. They were known for their large, luminous eyes and their profound devotion to family structures. "Hello?" Marcus called out, his voice carrying through the thin air. "Is someone there?" A section of debris shifted and Marcus saw her, a small Zephyrian child, no more than 7 years old by human standards, huddled in what remained of a maintenance alcove. Her silver-blue skin was pale with cold and fear, her large violet eyes reflecting his helmet lights like mirrors. She wore the torn remnants of what had been a bright yellow dress, now stained with dust and dried tears. "Please," she whispered again, the translator catching the tremor in her voice. "Can I have a dad? Mine got pulled away when the big sound happened." Marcus felt something break inside his chest. He'd seen plenty of tragedy in his years as a salvage operator, but the simple innocence of the request hit him harder than any disaster he'd witnessed. He knelt down slowly, making himself as non-threatening as possible. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. "Zara," she replied, clutching something to her chest. Marcus could see it was a small stuffed creature, probably a Terran teddy bear. A gift from some human trader, no doubt. "Zara, I'm Marcus. I'm here to help you." He ran a quick scan with his medical sensors, dehydrated, malnourished, but alive. It was a miracle she'd survived this long. "How long have you been here?" "Since the big sound," she said, her voice growing smaller. "Everyone went away. The ceiling fell down and Dad said to hide here. He said he'd come back, but—" She looked around the devastated corridor. "The dark came instead." Marcus's jaw tightened. The Zephyrians were known for their extended family structures. Parents, grandparents, siblings, all living together in close-knit communities. For this child to be alone meant her entire family was likely gone. "Zara, I'm going to take you somewhere. Safe, okay? Somewhere with food and warm beds and people who will take care of you." But Zara shook her head, pressing herself further into the alcove. "I can't leave. Dad said to wait here. He said he'd come back." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of decision. He could take her to the refugee stations, process her through the system, and hope for the best. That was the logical choice, the safe choice. But looking at her, seeing the way she clung to hope despite everything, he realized logic wasn't what was needed here. He reached up and removed his helmet, exposing his weathered face to the thin air. The environmental readings showed it was. Safe enough for a few minutes. Zara, he said, his voice clearer now without the helmet speakers. Your dad loved you very much, didn't he? She nodded, tears forming in those luminous eyes. And he wanted you to be safe, to be happy, to have a family. Another nod. Then maybe he sent me here. Maybe that's why my ship heard your beacon when no one else did. Marcus extended his hand toward her. I know I'm not Zephyrian, and I know I'm not your dad. But I could be, if you'd like. Not to replace him, but to be someone who takes care of you, who makes sure you're never alone again. Zara stared at him for a long moment, her child's mind processing concepts too large for her years. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. You'd really be my dad? She whispered. If you'll have me, Marcus replied, his voice thick with emotion. But I have to warn you, I'm just a salvage operator. I don't have much money and my ship isn't fancy. We'd be traveling a lot, seeing new worlds, meeting new people. It wouldn't be the same as your old life. For the first time since he'd found her, Zara smiled. It was small and fragile, but it was real. I like seeing new things, she said. And Dad always said, family isn't about where you live or how much money you have. He said it's about who stays with you when the dark comes. Marcus felt tears he hadn't shed in years threatening to fall. He scooped her up gently, replacing his helmet with one hand while holding her with the other. Then let's go home, he said. As they made their way back to his shuttle, Zara fell asleep against his shoulder, finally safe after weeks of terror and loneliness. Marcus looked out at the stars beyond the debris field and made a silent promise to a father he'd never met but understood completely. Some salvage was worth more than credits or rare metals. Sometimes, the most valuable thing you could find in the darkness was hope itself, and the chance to give a whispered wish the answer it deserved. The galaxy was vast and often cruel, but in that moment, carrying a sleeping child toward a better tomorrow, Marcus Chen understood why humans had earned their reputation among the stars. They didn't just survive the darkness. They carried lights for others who had lost their way.